Hey guys, One Asterisk Industries here. I'm going to do a quick build video for you. This is going to be for the Spy 10, Spyderco Tenacious. This is the DSR. It's actually been redesigned today. This is the first prototype or likely to be production model. I haven't actually tested it yet, but I'm sure it'll fit, knowing what the dimensions are. This is the Thorn. We're going to install both of those and kind of show you how that's done. To do that, we're actually happy to have the new Spyderco Tenacious Light Weight, which is pretty awesome. It looks pretty smooth. There it is. Feels really great. It is quite a bit lighter than the original Tenacious. Always seemed a little bit heavy, but real nice. So to take this apart, we are going to need a Torx or a Starhead driver bit. And this is a little Husky from Home Depot. We're not sponsored by them, but they're just nearby, so that's what I use. This is a T9 and a T6 on this one particular bit, and actually fits exactly what you're going to need for the Tenacious. So what I will usually do, you generally are going to want to have somewhere to put your screws. You don't want to lose them. You'll be on the ground doing the gunsmith crawl or the knifesmith crawl. We don't want to do that. Apparently this is coming pretty loose. It looks like it does have some Loctite, but they're not locking very tight. Now, what I found in the past, when you're taking these screws off of the body of the scales, there's screws on the other side. So that means that when you start to get these off, sometimes these are loose, and so they just keep spinning. For that, we have another set of Torx to put on both sides, and so we can get those undone. And also it helps with tightening them up too. So also I like to, when I pull this screw out for the pivot pin or the pivot screw, I also do the same side. That way we can keep everything kind of together when we put this unit together. That actually looks like it's coming out just fine. A little bit of Loctite, but it doesn't seem to be doing anything. This is actually pretty loose, which isn't always the case. You're not always so lucky. Now, I've had this happen before with some Spydercos. I actually have a Paramilitary 3 that I generally EDC, and I've lost a screw on that. They sent me a new one. I haven't actually put it on there yet. Okay, one of the things you might not have seen fall out of here when I was messing with this is, as I'm doing that, you're going to have this spring pressure of the liner lock. Well, since that popped open, this piece fell out, which you definitely don't want to lose. This is the blade stop. So keep an eye on those. Generally, those are the parts that you'll need to make sure you keep your hands on. Okay, and then you're just gonna kind of wiggle this out. It's got a lanyard, careful with your fingers, but it's got a lanyard hole or a lanyard pin to go into the lanyard hole. This piece right here, and we're gonna need to put that in with this when we put it together. Generally, I don't need to take the blade off, and we don't want to lose any of these. And I don't know if we're doubled up here. Yep, okay. So most of the time, especially on the Tenacious, you're going to have these probably brass washers, and this one was doubled up here, so I thought I didn't get the second one, but apparently I got both of them. So you're usually going to have one on the scale side, and then you're going to have one on the blade side, and same as the other side goes. So you should have 4 of them. Okay. So I'm going to put this back. Oh, another thing real quick. I talked about how sometimes the other side screws are a little bit loose. So these pins sometimes are loose. When you're putting the DSR on, that will be a problem with lining things up. So make sure that those are tight. So to do that, I'll generally hold one end here and tighten them up from this other side. snug them up a little bit. Be careful. If you grab them with pliers, you could kind of ding them up a little bit. Probably not going to hurt anything, but it does make it look kind of crappy. So you want to be careful with that. All right, so from here, we're going to put the blade back on. Also on the pivot pin, if you haven't taken your Tenacious apart, this one has a flat side. Most of these blades will have a flat side, so it indexes with the other side. So when you're putting on your pivot screw, it doesn't just keep rotating like this other side, especially since it doesn't have anything to hold this side down. So that's what that flat side is for. On a Tenacious, it actually goes this way. On some of the Kershaws, it goes down. So depending on what you got is how everything's going to fit. So I think I'll go ahead and just press our lanyard hole pin in there, and then we're just going to set these holes line up, and we're just going to set our, I'm going to go ahead and pull this out for now because we might have to do a little bit of tapping, banging, whatever, to get these in. They're designed to be snug because you don't want them loose and floating around. So that's the way they were designed. And that's the nice part of this material. If you need to make some adjustments depending on when this is manufactured, is everything going to be exact same place for every one that they make, especially as they jump into different versions? Sometimes not. But you can use an X-Acto knife and kind of clean out some areas and make sure you go, this material can handle it. So from here, I think I'm actually just going to see if I can pop that in there. So hammer, if it doesn't work, get a bigger hammer. Joke, don't break it. Obviously I don't want to ding things up, so this is wood, this is a little bit of nylon, and pops right on. Obviously my washer came out. This set real nice. And we should be good to go there. Make sure I don't lose any more parts. You can also use any sort of lubricant in there that works for you. It does come with a little bit of some sort of lubricant. I'm not going to put any on right now. Make sure you got both washers. Set your blade in. Now from this side, you want to make sure you get your pivot pin back in, or not your pivot pin, but your blade stop. So your blade stop is right there. Now the trick is to get everything together without dropping stuff or things going across the room. And we might be in there. Okay, so what I'm going to try now is I'm going to turn that flat spot a little further out and then rotate this in. So I'll get the flat spot where it's supposed to go. Okay. Okay, there it is. So the thing keeping me from pressing this together is going to be your liner lock. It's putting a lot of tension on there, not allowing us to get to where we need to go. But you just have to overcome it. All right, I'm just going to push that pivot pin out. Might just be there, but our pivot pin doesn't seem to want to go in. I'm gonna give it a light tap, see if we can manage not to break something. Once again, be careful, you don't want to mar things up, and that apparently worked. I'm not going to put Loctite on the pivot pin yet. Careful not to cross thread. It was trying real hard to cross thread. I'm going to tighten up kind of snug there just so I can get the rest of the parts in. Make sure that your blade stop is in there nice and good. Things look like they set in here real nice. Just a little bit of gap, so I'm going to use my trusty nylon and hammer. Give it a nice tap. Get all my screws to go in. Looks like they did. Okay, now we're gonna do some Loctite. I actually ordered this Loctite on Amazon. Doesn't seem anything like the last one I ordered. I don't know if I got a counterfeit one or not. Who knows? It appears to work though. Just really thin. Or maybe the last one I got was counterfeit. Who knows? Okay, from here, we're going to try not to lose any of these. And drop them in. We're going to snug them up before we try to tighten them. Want to clean up your mess. Looks pretty good. Since the back sides are snug, this should tighten in nicely. But be careful. And yeah, it's turning, which is expected. Take your time. Obviously, this is your hard-earned money for your piece of equipment here. So take your time. You don't want to jack it up. Very nice. Oh, this one might tighten on its own. Nope. Probably a better way to do this is to use some sort of small vise, which I actually have one that I could put on here, but so it doesn't move. Okay. And then good. Oh, I tightened that pretty tight. We're going to pull that pivot pin, pivot screw back out. And now put a little bit of Loctite on it. A great reason to put Loctite on this pivot screw is that way you can tighten it to the tension that you need, and it'll stay there. Yeah, I really don't like this Loctite, whatever it is. Obviously, you don't want to get Loctite in the mechanism, which is one of the reasons I don't put it in until after. So I'm going to snug it up, and then I'm going to back it out. A little bit tight. Still tight. Everything clears, real nice. All right, give me one moment. I'm gonna grab a screw for the Thorn. Now, the Thorn, there's really only one way to get it on. If you do want to take it off, you're highly likely to break it getting it off. It's not an expensive part, but just keep that in mind. But once you put it on, you're unlikely to even want to take it off, because it does what it's supposed to. See how this nicely comes down and interfaces the way it should. It's good to go. And so, how do we get this on? Careful when you're actually putting the Thorn on, so as you don't cut yourself, because you are messing with the blade. All right, so best way to do it, if you'll look on the inside of the Thorn, it's actually thicker in certain places, so you really can't push it over the top. I guess you could, but you take the chance of splitting it and possibly breaking it. A best way to do it is to slide it onto the blade. So you're going to take the point of the blade and you're going to stick it right there towards the top edge, obviously with the hook going forward, and then you're going to slide this thing back. Bring it all the way back, and then it gets into position. Once it's there, you're pretty much good to go. Probably wouldn't go anywhere once it's snugged up there, but we still put the screw in. While you're doing this, you can always put your thumb on the back side there. Once again, be careful as not to cut yourself. And all you need it to do is pretty much get flush with the back side of it right here. And there you go. That's it. This is a paramilitary 2. Works actually pretty well with the system. And then we are going to, well, I didn't flip the pocket clip, but I'll show how it works there. There it is. Hope you like it, guys. I know it's a little bit long, but it gives you a good idea of what it might actually look like. Most of these go together a lot quicker, but it is what it is. Once you got it together, you're ready to rock and roll. All right, guys. Take it easy. Risk it smart.